For that. So joining me now, two congressional reporters, Molly Hooper and Melanie Zanona, who's with Politico. Ladies, with a good morning to you. Let's get right to a list of the threats and actions the president and his administration have taken on immigration, from trying to end DACA protections to threatening to end birthright citizenship, and of course, most recently, threatening to close the entire border. You know, Melanie, is this exactly what his base wants to hear? Is that why the president keeps repeating these threats?
Yeah, it's exactly what his base wants to hear, but it's not always what his own Republican Party wants to hear. Just this week, with the threat to close the border, created so many headaches in the Republican Party. Even for Republicans who agree with the need to build the wall and secure the border, thought that was a terrible idea. But I think it really reflects a sense that, number one, Trump thinks this is a political winner for him. He's going to keep talking about this no matter what. They wanted to talk about the economy, Republicans did in the last election, but once again, Trump was always talking about immigration. I expect he'll do the same in 2020, much to the frustration of Republicans. And number two, I just think, you know, the way you laid out all those policies he's tried and failed to push forward through reflect how he's still struggling and frustrated with not being able to implement his own agenda.
Do you agree, Molly, that this is going to be pretty much what the 2020 Trumpian campaign will be all about? I mean, look, he won on it in 2016. So is he feeling like, well, it worked then, it's going to work this time too?
I think to a certain extent, yes. I mean, but he's realizing that it's tough to be the Article 2 branch of government. Let's just face it. When you're the executive branch of government, you have to contend with the legislative branch, which is Article 1. And all those policies that you ticked off, yes, he may want to do it. And as a CEO of a company, he can probably get that through. However, when you have to contend with a Congress that is as divided as our current Congress is, not only just between Democrats and Republicans, but within the Republican Party, because keep in mind, immigration is not necessarily a liberal or conservative issue. It's much more of a regional issue. And a lot of the Republicans who lost their races in 2018 in California, the Central Valley Republicans like Jeff Denham and others, immigration played a key role because there is a huge community of undocumented workers who they were working with, and they were dealing with. And so this is not strictly a party issue. It's very much so a regional issue, and it's unclear what the strategy is in terms of who the president is focusing on, because as Melanie said, closing down the border, if you look at the Republicans who came out against that this past week, Rob Portman, who's from Ohio, a key Republican senator, said that was a terrible idea. So again, it's unclear what this strategy is and how it will help all those Republicans who are up for re-election in the Senate.
So the president also spoke yesterday about his plan to cut $450 million in aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Let's take a listen to what he said here.
The Democrats say, how dare you do that? That money is used for all these good, but no, it's not. It's largely stolen. If the government wanted to, I have a feeling they'd be able to stop caravans from forming in those three countries. I've taken a lot of heat from the stupid people that say, oh, gee, we should keep. We have people that work with them that say we should be sending much more money.
But Melanie, I've spoken with experts, and I'm talking both Republicans and Democrats, all of whom have been pretty uniform, saying that cutting aid will only encourage more Central Americans to try to reach the U.S.
Yeah, I've talked to experts that have said the same thing, that the Trump administration is inadvertently creating incentives for more migrants to try to come here as soon as possible. Number one, as you mentioned, cutting off aid obviously creates an even more unbearable living situation in these countries. And number two, Trump's constant threats to change asylum laws and other immigration laws makes people just want to get here while the going is still good and before these laws are changed. And I think that is why we are seeing this recent surge of migrants at the border.
You know, it was interesting as well from the president yesterday, also repeating his attack that the Democratic Party is anti-Semitic and that Representative Ilhan Omar does not like Israel. You know, we have to remind viewers, this was the day after a man was arrested for threatening to kill her. She responded on Twitter. Here's what she wrote, quote, "My Lord, forgive my people, for they do not know." What do you think about how Democrats are countering this rhetoric from the president, Molly?
Well, this is kind of tough because they do have within their party, there has been a bit of a challenge over how to tackle the issue of Israel, because there are several Democrats who've come out, several leading Democrats who've come out to be more favorable toward the Palestinians, which of course causes a huge eruption among the party. And Democrats are seen sort of as the party that has attracted Jewish voters in the past. And now Republicans are trying to take that over, take that message over, and appealing to Jewish voters, which is kind of interesting. And again, this is an issue that Democrats were trying to wrestle with just last month when they were coming up with a resolution to put on the floor to essentially, go after remarks that Representative Omar made that were seen to be anti-Semitic, and that caused a huge problem among Democrats. It's something that they haven't quite been able to get their arms around yet, but I have a feeling that may be something that they discuss at the end of this upcoming week when they're at their retreat in Leesburg.
You know, the president, Melanie, has also certainly touted his close relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's part of what he said on that.
I stood with your prime minister at the White House to recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights.
Melanie, the president telling Jewish Republicans that Netanyahu is, quote, your prime minister. How do you think that was received in the room and then nationally in both parties?
Well, this is just another example of President Trump trying to move in lockstep with Israel. He has shown great support for Netanyahu. He's also moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Recently, he declared recognition of the disputed Golan Heights territory. And look, I just think it's another example of the way the president is trying to create those divisions in the Democratic Party and peel away those Jewish Democratic voters and even lawmakers who are unhappy with some of the comments that we've seen from Representative Ilhan Omar and others, as Molly mentioned. And he is really, really seizing on that to try to peel away those Democratic voters.
Molly Hooper, Melanie Zanona, ladies, good to see you both. Thank you.
Good to see you.
A revealing look at the White House relationship with Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Wait until you hear what Trump's former lawyer had to say about what was happening behind the scenes.